Hey, everybody, welcome back. My name is Todd Ronan from the Reality Forecast channel on YouTube, and I'm joined with Liz Cross. And now we know the fate of the poor people that passed away in the Titan exploration. Liz, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, thank you. Can I just take up a little bit of airtime to comment on this, what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay, so the media have put out, and the Navy, the Coast Guard, and don't forget the wording that they're using, which is believed implosion. Believed, not we definitely know because we saw it happen, and this is why we know this. They're saying a believed implosion due to the wreckage. Now, bearing in mind that we got the information, everything in that probe was correct. Okay, the location was correct, or at least certainly their last known location, as they were able to report it to me. Don't forget, they were in pitch black. They were in darkness. The circumstances that they were going through, the fact that they weren't banging, that was not them banging on the side of the vessel. You remember that? There was all this hype about that's them. They're banging at 30-minute intervals for, 3 minutes at a time on this.
Yeah, the media has a tendency to say things and then say the same thing, even if it's wrong, because they said it. And I think that's probably what we're witnessing here as well.
So, right. And so everything in that probe was absolutely spot on, including the fact, which I had cut out in the original posting, the published one, about 12 minutes in on the unedited one, you hear me talk about the impact. They hit the bottom quite hard, that parts of it came off, right? That's consistent with their findings, and that they were in total blackness. But the chamber part, as far as it was reported to me, was still intact. So just think about that. And what they're reporting is a believed implosion, a believed. Now, there's a lot of speculation out there, and we can definitely look into this as well. But, implosions are convenient in order to call off a multi-billion-dollar search effort.
You know what I thought? The first thing I heard that was the story that they told us about the astronauts on the Challenger, and they didn't die. There was some very traumatic feedback of them actually talking as they came crashing down. And so that wasn't an instantaneous death either.
Right.
And I think they believe it's more convenient to have an instantaneous death than the one that these 5 men actually went through.
You know what? That is absolutely correct. And what a way, because this is in international waters, which we discovered in the probe. What a convenient way also to deter people from doing this again, because it's international waters. There's no regulations. So now that the word is out that this is what people are doing, these wealthy people, they're going to Antarctica, they're paying $400,000 to hike Mount Everest, they're hiking Kilimanjaro, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're going to the North Pole, they're going to the South Pole, they're all over the place. And the fact that it's unregulated, that could serve as a deterrent, this alleged implosion, to make sure that nobody gets, another harebrained idea to send an unregulated, uncertified or non-certified vessel down there. If you think about the probe, everything in that probe was correct. Now, let's go into the remote viewing. Ronan, you are a remote viewing instructor, so you will understand what this means, and you can help to explain it. I'm not going to go into the details of how I do it, okay, because that's another long video. And quite frankly, that should not be public knowledge anyway. I was very lucky when I was trained that the person was willing to train me in that style of remote viewing. But it shouldn't be just something that everybody can do, because it can be reckless, and we know all about that. We won't go into that, Ronan, but it can be reckless, and you agree with that, right?
Yeah, we can discuss and we can find out exactly what positions people are in. I would have known if I'd remote viewed it what their condition was, their physical condition, if they were all prone or still intact or completely imploded. And none of the people that I talked to that were remote viewers got that they had imploded, that they were
Right.
all still alive, and that they were not able to communicate because all their technology went down.
This event had all the remote viewers springing into action, and you are exactly right. On the remote viewing forums that I'm on, I don't tend to comment on there, but I noticed even some very prominent remote viewers were coming back with the same thing that I reported after I had made the video. But you have to understand, if they would have been passed at that moment, and there's some good questions that I think we're going to ask and answer. From what I know from doing this for many, many years, I've given thousands of readings. I've done tons of mind probes, hundreds and hundreds of videos. Those of you that are new to the channel, I had another channel once upon a time with another 200-300 videos on it that got taken down. Anyway, if they would have been passed, the style of remote viewing that I was using, I would not have been able to locate them in their current physical state. That would have drawn a blank, and then I would have had to go and try to pull them as spirit. And the information that comes through from spirit is entirely different to the information that comes through on the earth plane. When we're on the earth plane, we're concerned about particulars like, oh, it's hot. Oh, it's cold. Oh, the oxygen's running out. Oh, we don't have a lot of food and water. We don't have this. We don't have that. We're sitting in darkness. These are very well-defined particulars that these people were experiencing when I was tapping into them in that style of remote viewing, which I was able to connect with them, which is a good indication that at the time of the connection that they were alive. If I was channeling them, they're not going to talk about in-depth details about, yeah, we're right near the Titanic, we're a few meters
because they're
away.
not there. They're out. They're out of their body.
They're gone. And they want to talk about how much they love their families and what the, exciting things were that they did on the earth plane, and what their soul contracts were, and how they feel, and how the unresolved issues they left with. And none of that came through during that probe. It was all immediate. So this believed implosion, just like all the other things that have come out, which COVID wasn't created in a lab, and other things that we're not allowed to discuss on YouTube. But just think about that.
Well, the
And
remote viewing data is usually on point, regardless of what comes out. So I trust that more than I trust the news media. Can we dive into these people now that they have allegedly crossed over? Can we get any confirmation from you that they are no longer on board that craft?
Yeah. And see, so now when I'm tuning into them, right, they're standing here in hologram form. In fact, I knew that they had passed on, I don't even know what day we're on. What day are we on? Friday. I knew they had passed because the morning after I did the probe, they were standing in hologram form right next to my bed, ready to talk to me. They're like, Liz, we got to talk. Right. So I was like, oh, this is not good news if you're standing here in hologram form. And then, of course, I checked the news and they said, no, they never found the vessel. So what would you like to know? I'll pull
Well, let's start
Hamish
with
forward.
Hamish Harding. I think we talked to Stockton Rush a lot last time, or you and Shakespeare did. So if we could talk to the chairman of the Action Aviation Consulting Company.
Yes. And see, now the information that he's bringing forward, the first thing he says to me is, I loved my life. It
And
was the best lifetime he ever had.
does he have any remorse about taking this trip along with Stockton Rush?
Do you have any remorse about taking? Absolutely, he does. He feels like a fool.
Does he feel like his assets could have been better spent on something better? And what does he feel that that might be?
I feel like he's telling me, what do you think that that would be? His children. He made a foolish mistake, and he's saying to me that his emotions got the better of him. It was the excitement, the fact that he could afford it. Obviously doesn't mean that you should go. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And he didn't see that he had any limitations when he was on the earth plane. Whatever he wanted, he could buy.
Right.
Except his life.
Did he have any ties specifically to the Titanic or any survivorship or death when the Titanic went down in his previous soul incarnations?
No, he did not. But he has actually, he's telling me now, in a previous lifetime, he has been an explorer a few times in other lifetimes. And this is something that regularly happens to him. He's saying, I always end up dead. I've never managed to be an explorer who doesn't end up getting killed in a particular situation to do with the exploration.
Can he share a previous incarnation where that happened and something maybe less traumatic than this one, but
yes, he was one of the, back in the day, he was one of the first European explorers to Africa. He had been there in a previous life, and when he got to the continent, he was killed almost immediately by the habitants.
does he have any animus personally towards Stockton Rush about maybe being hoodwinked into this journey?
Yeah. Well, what was the soul? Well, so the soul contract was that Stockton Rush was to lead them to their deaths. They had all previously contracted in there. And that is something that happens frequently. Was he in your previous life? So he's done this before. Stockton Rush in a previous lifetime was connected to Hamish Harding, he's telling me, and on another expedition or another exploration in a previous lifetime, their boat sank. So this is not the first time that these two souls have been together, and it's the way that it was sold. This level of fearlessness that Stockton Rush's personality, his soul, carries with him. This is an unresolved issue that he has that always gets him into trouble in many lifetimes. This lack of fear.
Are there any parting? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, this is not a rational exploration. It really isn't.
Are there any parting things that Hamish Harding would like to say to the people listening?
He should have done better. When he's looking back now at this lifetime and he says, I absolutely had so much joy and pleasure in this lifetime, but there's a lot of regret there. He could have done so much more. And I'm saying with regards to exploration, he goes, no. With regards to spreading the love and spreading the joy and benefiting humanity, he is saying these are his own personal thoughts, feelings, and opinions. that he was exceptionally selfish in this lifetime. A bit of a narcissist, actually, is what he's saying. You know, you had to be around him on his terms. And if it wasn't something that he was interested in, he didn't want to know. And I feel that went for his kids as well. He had a difficult relationship with his children because of this need to explore and this need for adrenaline, and I can do it. It's almost like, and I'm saying to him, were you trying to fill a void? Yes, he was. You know, this type of risky behavior, and as much as we have respect for explorers and all of that, I respect them. But this level of risky behavior in this day and age, it goes beyond. It's like there's a lack of self-love there, because if you really love yourself, and he's saying I didn't, but if you really love yourself, you would never want to put yourself into harm's way, right? So people that are rock climbing without ropes and hanging off of cliffs and doing all these dangerous things, I don't know if they're doing it for YouTube subscribers or shorts or whatever, but there has to be a significant amount or significant lack of self-love in order to undertake such an adventure.
Well, thank you very much. I'd like to move on to Shahzada Dawood. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing his name correctly. There's been a lot of animosity about him and actually taking his son Suleiman Dawood on board this adventure. And how do they present themselves? And is there any animosity towards the father or the son to the father by shortening his life so much?
That is a good question, because you know what? As they're presenting themselves to me, they're stepping forward, they're separate. So they're not standing together like, you know, father and son would normally do that. He's somewhat pushing his father away. And I'm saying, why are you doing that? And he's saying, because I just wanted him to pay attention to me. I didn't want to be there. I can never please him. I could never get his attention. And these are the types of things that I have to go through in order to just be able to be around him.
Was he a type of narcissist, or what, his father, or was he just self-absorbed in his work?
Extremely selfish. Was he a narcissist? Yes, absolutely. He was a narcissist. The son is saying to me, full blown, really, again, just was out for himself. Really, the son is saying, really didn't care too much about, you know, being around him, his own pursuits or anything like that. It was always, the world revolved around the dad.
Did his son want to go, or did he not want to go on this trip?
He definitely did not want to go, and he was terrified, and he had a bad feeling even when they were getting in.
What would he like to say?
It was the father that kept trying to say, well, it's going to be okay. He said, don't worry about it. I've done this thing before.
And so what would Suleiman like to say to people out there that might be pushed into something that they don't want to do? What's his advice to them?
Turn and walk away. Whatever the situation is, if you're in a bad relationship, a bad career, a bad situation on the street, trust your gut, turn and walk away. These people are not more important than you. And it doesn't matter who they're with, they're going to ultimately self-destruct them, and or not self-destruct, but destroy them anyway. So if it's not you that they're going to destroy, they're going to destroy someone else. And see, he's telling me all that money, right? It gave his father a hold over everybody else, power over everybody else. And he would use that significantly.
Did either of them have any ties to the Titanic or any soul contracts with Stockton Rush?
Yes. So I'm now got the father stepping forward. Did you have a soul contract together? So in the spirit world, they're the best of friends and always risk takers in many, many, many lifetimes.
He and
Again,
his son, or he and Stockton Rush?
he and Stockton Rush.
Okay. There's no animosity in the afterlife.
No, they love each other. Oh, I love you so much that I was willing to get you on board and take you down and get us killed. That people need to understand that in the afterlife, right? It's not about, and I said this, I think the other day on another probe that I did. I don't know. I do so many of these things. I can never keep up. But it's about, oh, wow, you really brought so many life lessons to me. And I'm so grateful that you did that you tried to destroy me on the earth plane. And you did this to me, and you beat me, and you did that, and you were horrible, or you were an alcoholic, and you see what I'm saying? But when you're in the spirit world, those things are pretty irrelevant. It's all about, yeah, we're all trying to ascend. We're all trying to reach a goal of ascension. And we crank up the level, the difficulty level in order to do that. And so then that's why we contract these things in to hopefully that we achieve this, but they haven't achieved it.
What is Suleiman Dawood's feeling towards Stockton Rush?
So they've had previous lifetimes together as well, where they hate one another. And this is something that Suleiman and his father have played out in many lifetimes. This need for attention. He never pays attention to him for whatever reason. Either he's a workaholic or he had to work away from home. I'm dipping into the past lives now. Or he abandoned the family. There's always this massive distance between Suleiman and his father.
And does Suleiman or Shahzada, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that again, have any Titanic ties to a previous life, either as a survivor or a victim? What drew them to that location?
So the father, Shaw, I'm just going to call him, he did have ties to the Titanic, but not so much that he was on board, but he was part of the rescue effort. So in his previous life, he was part of the rescue. Isn't that interesting? And he wasn't able to save anyone because their ship, their rescue boat didn't get to the Titanic on time. Therefore, it was a lost cause. And there was always a lot of deep, deep regret for that. He took that personally. And then look what's happened this time.
You still can't save him, but you can go down with the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Does Shah have any regrets about his experience in this life with Stockton Rush and taking his son down?
Massive regret. And this is something that they'll recreate again. Will it be under the guise of exploration? No. Will you be as wealthy in the next lifetime? No. And that's the thing. just because we're wealthy in one lifetime doesn't mean that we're going to be wealthy in all subsequent lifetimes. So to think that these guys cut this short when they had all this money, it's really a shame. But they contracted that. They contracted that they would come into this world, and they contracted how they would go out.
That's an interesting question for people out there. I'm sure they're wondering, don't you reincarnate into your same soul family and genetic soul family? Or is it more often that you incarnate somewhere else on Earth?
Most of the time you reincarnate with your soul family, but sometimes there are souls that are ready to move forward, and they can't take the soul family constantly holding them back in every lifetime. So say, for instance, the mom is an alcoholic, right? And in every lifetime, there's something wrong with her. She's either an alcoholic or a gambler, or she's abandoning the children. She's a very difficult person. She has all these life lessons, lacking in self-worth, lacking in self-love, all of the above, all of those negative emotions. Yet the child is constantly coming in as the soul family and having to live in this mess. And in every lifetime, the child processes, is ready to ascend and ready to move on. But if the soul family can't go, right, because they're being held back, you usually have to all go together. And if that soul family is constantly holding back that one particular soul, then sometimes that soul will say, hey, this isn't working. I got to go find a new family. And it's almost like there's a bulletin board up there. Hey, I need a new family. Anybody want to make contracts with me? Yeah, okay. And they do.
Is there anything that Suleiman wants to say before we close it out and head to the captain?
I miss my wife. And I'm sorry.
Is there anything the son wants to say?
He just heard me talking about the whole thing about soul families and all this stuff. He's like, I'm ready to dump this soul family. I am ready to move on. This guy gets me in trouble. I'm tired. See, this is what we do. I'm tired of learning going through the same thing over and over. And then if you keep recreating it and life, and lifetime after lifetime, you start to up the ante, right? So look at this. This kid was young. He had the world at his fingertips with that amount of money. He could have been and done anything, built his own company, whatever, become a real estate mogul. Oh, he's just said to me, I wanted to be a game developer. I'm like, okay, he could have done that. And the fact that magnitude, that level of living was cut short for yet again the same life lesson, which is, Dad, pay attention to me. Right?
It would have been a much better game. Yeah. Instead of going down there yourself, I'd say. Definitely.
Yeah, right. So, again, they've only been up there for a short time. And the other thing that people need to understand is there's no gravity up there. So what we think of as time here is just a blink of an eye up there. He's looking for another soul family. He's like, I can't just keep going through this with him. And the father is very apologetic.
All right, let's head to the captain of the ship, Stockton Rush III.
Yeah. Wow.
Does he have any regrets?
Yes, he does. Massive regret. Now, think about those two things that I did. Okay. We're talking about the mind probe what did we get from him in the mind probe? No empathy. It's their own risk.
Calm down, take it easy, breathe slow. Yeah.
This is their problem, not mine. Now he's in the spirit world. That lack of empathy has been released with the body on the earth plane, or, in the ocean. And now he has this massive, massive regret.
Expand on that.
He feels sorry for what he's done. And not only does he feel sorry for what he's done, but he's also tarnished his good name, because now the world knows how reckless he was. So he's gone down, in flames, or certainly his name has. He's gone down, big time, totally embarrassed by this situation. So as he's left the earth plane, now he's experiencing these emotions, and these emotions that he wasn't experiencing on the earth plane, but he has them now. They're going to be imprinted on his soul. He's going to have this as part of his soul memory. He's like, fix me, Liz. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Because even though, I do CTT, just because they're not in a body here on the earth plane doesn't mean the CTT doesn't work for them. So that's why he's shouting out to me, fix me, Liz. No, I'm not doing that.
Well, there's so many emotions focused on him, and a lot of them are bitter. A lot of them are animosity, and he's got a lot of learning and recuperating to do on that side. And when he comes back, because there's a lot of anger there from everyone on board and everyone that participated in the search.
And what he will carry forward with him into the next lifetime is going to be embarrassment, feeling like a fool, feeling inadequate, failure. And there'll be re-triggering events in his next lifetime during his childhood that will imprint those feelings in that lifetime onto his consciousness. And then he's going to have to work through that. And once again, I said, are you going to have this amass of money like you did in this lifetime? And I'm getting a no. No, he's not going to have those types of opportunities again.
James Cameron seemed pretty bitter with him in a few interviews that he did on air. Did they have words when he was alive, and were they friends, or were they kind of enemies?
Were you friends with James Cameron when you were alive? I mean, yes, they were acquaintances. They had several conversations. But see, everybody's saying, oh, he had all these warnings. But when you're dealing with somebody who's just worried about their own name and their own branding, and they have zero empathy, right? Why would they ever heed the warnings? Ever? It's kind of like when you're married to a narcissist. I'm going to leave you. Okay. I'm going to leave you. Okay. Do you think the narcissist is actually capable of absorbing that the other person is really hurt significantly over the narcissistic behavior? No, they don't think about that. They're only worried about their self. It's all me all the time. So despite having all these warnings come his way, anybody who got in the way of his agenda was disposable. And that's how narcissists operate. They operate from a place of discard. You're no longer serving a purpose. You're not advancing me. You're not revolving around me. Therefore, you're discard. So it's like when the wife or the husband files for divorce against the narcissist, because they were in there first, right? They managed to dish the blow first. Well, that is like hell hath no fury, like a narcissist who's been warned that they're going to be disposed of, because then you have all the things like the flying monkeys, and I don't want to go into all that, but yeah. So this is a ship full of narcissists apart from the son, who was just desperate to be loved by his father.
Was Stockton Rush tied specifically to any Titanic catastrophe or death? And was that driving his, hey, I got to get there? I just think, why didn't you make it like a video game where people could like use their own controller above, ground, and then let them, it seemed crazy to me, but I'm not, I guess, a thrill seeker like them. But the question remains, did he have ties to the Titanic and it going down?
Yes, he did. Did you go down with the ship? No, he did not go down with the ship. He managed to escape. He was a male, a very prominent male in that lifetime. I don't know which one. Names are very difficult to pull from the spirit world, but he managed to escape. He got ahead of the women and children. He bought his way onto the boat.
What goes around comes around, right, Liz?
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. There was no way out this time.
Well, I wish them great success in their recovery on the other side. And thanks you all for listening. We appreciate it. If you have future questions for a probe, please submit that to psychiclizcross.com and you can go ahead and submit your suggestion for a probe and we can pull it up at some point this summer. Thanks so much for talking to them, Liz. And thanks for talking to me. Do you have any final comments for the folks out there?
Yes. If you want to know what we're talking about with remote viewing, you need to sign up for Ronan's course. How do they do that, Ronan?
So I'll be offering another remote viewing course in the fall. I offer one every season. So it's a 6-week course where you learn all the modifications I've made of remote viewing. It's called Temporal Awareness Perception Remote Viewing. You can find that at realityforecast.com. The course is $595. It will last for 6 weeks. It's 24 hours and there's homework. It's on every Tuesday and Thursday night, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock Central. And I look forward to seeing people there for it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome. Then they'll know what we're talking about. All right. Thank you very much. I'll stop this one here.
Bye, guys.